Salutations, collectors. Today's episode 117, Scooter Malfunction. You might know them as an ECV, an electric convenience vehicle. I know them as a lifesaver. I have spent countless years going to visit the mouse. And at one point, I even had a whole scooter cavalcade of my entire family who was aging and infirmed. And we had like a little scooter parade of like 5 people at one point on a scooter out of 7, traipsing around Disney. And I have to say, Florida is a generally aging population, so they're scooter friendly on sidewalks and buses and all the theme parks and things like that. So very often I'm asked to procure one or bring one or whatever the story may be to visit the parks and go to different places, whether it's been as a help or just as a necessity for people that have been hurt or that need it or bad knees or fill in the blank. And this time, when picking up the scooter from the facility, we had a little mishap. There's a very odd trapezoidal, for lack of better wording, set of speed bumps, which is weird because most of your speed bumps are kind of thin and you just like whoop over them. And then speed humps, of course, are wider and you can't go anywhere near as fast, but it's still rounded. Trapezoidal, however, I can't say I've encountered before. And these were odd speed bumps. And I guess it was to slow down maximum slowness, for cars. So when I pulled into the facility on my way in to check into the hotel, I stopped to pick up the scooter and put it on the lift. And I got about, a block away, and I was only 2 blocks from the check-in site. And it was dark, and it was late, and the one reflective tape was kind of beat up, and I didn't see it as readily available as the others. And it kind of snuck up on me, and I was like, ooh, so I'm slamming on my brakes, now with scooter in tow on the back of my truck. And I hear this horrible noise. Nobody's around, so I know I didn't hit anything. But I was like, oh, God, and it was all rumble in the back. So I was like, oh, God, like that was bad. But I truthfully had hit it at maybe 15 miles an hour when you really can't go more than like 2. So I go another block and I pull into a parking spot and I'm finally like, oh, I'm here. I just want to go in and crash. And I go to move the scooter off the lift to bring it inside in case it rains. And it's not moving. And I'm thinking, oh, come on. I just picked this up. And it just got scooted out to me. Like, what's the story? Well, one of the batteries was completely missing off the back of it. It had fallen off in the trapezoidal conquest. So I'm like, oh, my God. So here I am, trying to get it off the lift to go back to pick it up. We go circle back and, about 2 blocks, not even, we find it, pick it up, bring it back, reattach it. No big deal. Everything's safe in plastic. It's a car battery. But, oh my God, totally stressed point. I was like, how did that happen? It's never happened before. So now I'm totally paranoid about these new and improved trapezoidal speed bumps because I'm thinking, oh my God, if this happened here, what if I'm on the highway? I'm completely paranoid. So we spend the rest of the night just trying to get the scooter back off and get everything out of the truck. And I thought, oh, you know what? I don't need the battery. I'll just put the scooter in neutral. Well, something must have happened and someone had bound the neutral button with a zip tie. I'm guessing another guest. I don't know. I didn't do it. So here I am from like laying under the car with a rusty steak knife from inside the place, trying to cut off a zip tie underneath in the ground. It's about to rain. It's late at night. Thing finally cuts. It's a bad scene. And of course, it still doesn't work, which presumably is why it was zip tied. Finally get everything into place. I'm like, ah. So I had taken it in and that was that. Well, then the next day or two, when it came time to utilize said scooter, it kept jutting to a halt, needing to be charged, blinking voraciously for no reason whatsoever. Just strange things that truthfully I'd never had a problem with before. And everyone in the party was like, something's wrong. So eventually it turned out that it was something wrong. It was a malfunctioning scooter, and called the company and they brought a brand new one, to us right away. No problem. And that was that. So I thought all my fears and problems were worked out. And it was for the rest of the trip. Zoom, no biggie, nice and simple, super comfortable. Everybody's okay. And at the very last day when I went to return it, the same trapezoidal speed bump got me. And I'll be, if 5 seconds before we're about to return it to leave to drive back home, the PA doesn't one of the batteries fall off at the last second, and we have to go back and collect it, get it back on, and put it back the same way. So the moral of that story is no trapezoidal speed bumps. I don't know what you're thinking. Wow, they're too efficient. Luckily, we were okay on the highway and everything was fine. And I use a company down there called Walker Mobility. I used Scooter Orlando and Walker Mobility, and I've used them for, like I said, anywhere from 1 to up to 5 scooters at a time, depending on like what clientele I had down there with me or whoever needed what. And they range in size and shape, and they're really great. I've done Google review ads for them, and they're fantastic companies. Brian's over at Scooter Orlando, and John's over at Walker Mobility, and they will bend over backwards for loyalty and to make everything right and hook you up with whatever you need and make sure you've got your gear to charge. And it's something you might want to consider if you've never done it before, especially if you're down there, because if you do an independent rental when you're down in Florida, and again, I just know that the Orlando area is extremely, and Florida in general, is extremely scooter friendly. Not that other places aren't, but when you think about like New York, not so much, so if you're going to go to a place that's flat or somewhere that has like serious turf, it's a different story. But Orlando, like I said, is kind of an aging population. You got a lot of golf carts and scooters kind of down there anyway. So if you are going to go to a theme park, think about it. A lot of parents, they get strollers, or they'll get the rubber baby buggy bumpers from, say that 10 times fast, from, SeaWorld or from Universal or from Disney, and you're renting $35 or $40 a day. Just consider getting yourself a scooter for the adult. I'll tell you why. First of all, if you get your own, and this is whether or not you have mobility issues or not. Certainly, if you're compromised in any way, it is so much better to have your own convenience and control than it is for a person that has to push someone who's handicapped or broke a foot or something like that. So think about, the heat and the care that person's giving. So think about it just from a convenience standpoint. If you are the infirmed or person that got hurt, you definitely want to think about being able to be mobile yourself. So if you could be on a scooter and still, maybe have like a limb situation, not that they won't help you. Most of the cast members there will when you get on and off the ride or in and out of the restaurant or wherever you're going. But if you can move yourself, even if you have a major motility issue, that's always going to be helpful. And then somebody doesn't have to push you in the hot sun. As far as rentals go, if you're going to rent a scooter in the park, it could be $75 to $80 a day. And you get it in the park. So you still have the parking lot nightmare. And if you're going to rent a wheelchair or a stroller, wheelchairs can be $45 to $50 a day, and strollers can be anywhere from $20 to $30 a day, whether you get single, double, etc. And again, that's in the parks. So of course, a lot of people bring their own. But consider this. If you use the stuff from the park, the equipment from the park, you can't put a little kid on your lap. It's illegal because it's the Disney scooter or it's the Universal scooter. If you bring in your own scooter and it's private, they can't say anything to you. So if you have a little one, you could possibly even get 2 kids, little kids on your lap. And that can save in the whole, just because what happens with the stroller? You put a bunch of junk in it. The kid ends up walking or isn't in it anyway. Okay, at some point they might completely crap out, but you could still put them on a lap if need be to get from A to B. And they're still going to be wiry and rambunctious at some point and have more energy than everyone. So even if it comes to a point where they don't want to walk, they could, hop a lap with somebody. So it's very possible. And if you're paying for an outside scooter, it's, again, you can get that from your hotel. So if you have a lift or a handicap van, that would probably be the disadvantages if you don't have a lift, I understand. But you could also rent handicap vehicles down there from Mobility Works. Shout out to a great company that I've dealt with down there. Go see Anita in the airport region of Orlando. You could just do a rental that accommodates a scooter or a wheelchair or whatever you might need, as well as able-bodied guests. And then you can have that brought into the park. You're automatically in handicap parking, so you're further up and don't have to deal with the trams, etc. for the rest of your people. And that way everybody's together and you can have a good family day. And then you could bring the scooter from your facility or wherever you're staying all over into the park on the parking lot and then out, in which case, like I said, again, you could put a little kid or 2 on your lap and have them go with you. And in some cases, depending on the size of the scooter, the person or the kids, you could possibly even have two like standing on the deck or, helping out whomever. So it's worth thinking about, and it's definitely a lot cheaper. It is probably a third of the cost, depending on the size that you want and how long you rent. And they always cut your break. These are great guys, and they're very loyal. And I have worked with them for over 10 years, and I recommend them to talk to for business down there. And they will hook you up before you get down there, and they'll bring it to wherever you are, and they'll collect it from wherever you go. So it's really an easy thing to do, and you could pay a third of the price for much more comfort. Don't have to deal with the wheelchair, inconveniencing two people, possibly getting extra strollers, etc. But do watch those trapezoidal speed humps, because, wow, they're going to get you in the end. But it's worth talking about. And if you want to purchase your own scooter, I would say that is definitely something you could think about as well, that you could transport, especially if you do live down there. I know that we have one up here, and it has been used countless times for different things, doctor appointments, people are sick, people have bad knees, there's just, a couple bad days, people aren't well, and it's gone all over. So there's ranges beyond of what you might want to do or get or see, but it's definitely worth thinking about if you have anybody with mobility issues, or even if it's a temporary thing. And they're not that expensive anymore, and they're very sturdy and durable. So you could totally pick one of those up. So if you think about it, you could check out the link in our description, because I would highly recommend it, especially if you're going to travel or consistently travel down to Florida or another region that has mobility alternatives, golf carts, etc., different types of places that are flat or that you could go, that they encourage. It's just something to think about. And I think as the population ages, you're going to see more and more of that, especially with the silver tsunami we have starting up. So it's something to think about, and definitely a convenient thing, and definitely think about it from a convenience perspective as well as an economic perspective. And it's very common. A lot of people down there are utilizing those things, so I recommend them highly. And if you like what you heard today, then check us out at eclecticcollectionpodcast.com or on your preferred platform. I'm Terry Tenaglia. Thanks for listening.